chapter 1 verse 22, Naomi says, I went out full, and the Lord had brought me home again empty. Now listen, friends. In Ruth chapter 1 verse number 1, it says there was a famine in the land of Judah. And a certain man, Elimelech, took his wife Naomi and her 2 sons and went away into a land called as Moab. Bethlehem means the house of bread. It was the place where the house of God was. There was the presence of God in Bethlehem. And in such a place there was a famine. Moab means a place of sin. In other words, this man Elimelech took his wife and his 2 sons and left the house of God and went away into the place of sin because of a famine in the house of God. In other words, because of a famine in the presence of God, Elimelech left God's presence and went away into the house of sin. I want to tell you, you know what happened? In Moab, Elimelech died, his 2 sons died. And this is what happens when you go away from the presence of God. The mistake Elimelech did was he went from Bethlehem to Moab because of a famine in the land. He did not have faith that God could sustain you, could feed you in the midst of a famine. And I want to tell you, not even one person died due to the famine in Bethlehem, because God was in their midst. If you were in the presence of God, do not fear famine, do not fear the storms, because your God is more powerful than any storms in this world. Yes, he and his 2 sons died. And the gods of Moab, the riches of Moab, the lusts of Moab could not sustain them, could not save them. In Bethlehem, God has an answer to your every need. No food, but He will feed them. Sickness, but He would heal them. No, full of storms, but He would save them, because our God is an all-powerful God. He is the El Shaddai. Don't leave the presence of God because of problems. Don't leave the presence of God because of a difficulty. Don't leave the presence of God because of a sickness. Don't leave the presence of God because of a difficulty. Don't leave the presence of God because somebody betrays you. Because our God has an answer to every problem. Don't go away from God, because that is the dangerous path which Elimelech took. Psalm 33 verse 19, our God will keep you alive in a famine. Psalm 37 verse number 19, God will satisfy you even in a famine. And that is why when Naomi comes back to the people and says, I went full, but now I'm empty, the people of Bethlehem are saying, why did you go? See us, we have no food, but we are happy. We have no new clothes, but we are satisfied, because we have our God in the midst of us. Naomi says, I should have stayed here, but because I went, I am now empty. Today, the first decision we need to take, my dear friends, whatever happens, whoever leaves, whatever sickness or difficulty comes, Lord, I will not leave your presence and go away from you. Number 2, at Moab, there was no famine. No famine, but there was lot of sin, lot of pleasures, lot of riches, lot of dine and wine, lot of partying, lot of enjoyment. But that is where Elimelech and his 2 sons died. And Naomi had a choice to make. Her choice was either to stay back at Moab and die like her husband and her 2 sons. You know, some people have sentiments. My husband died in this land, I want to die here. Some people take their body from America, they bring to Bangalore just because their father or mother or family was buried there. But Naomi had a choice to make. And her choice was to die like a husband in Moab or to get back to the presence of God. And you know what Naomi said? She says, I'm going back. I'm going back. My husband died here. My sons died here. But I don't want to die like them. I want to go back into the land of my God, into the presence of God. And I want to seek His face because I know my God will never let me down. My dad and mom may have made mistakes. My wife may have made a mistake. My husband may be making mistakes. My children may have made mistakes. But I will go back into the presence of God because I know the city of the Lord lacketh nothing good. Hallelujah. Your best friend might have gone away from God. But I want to tell you, you need to get back into the presence of God. Today, we have a choice to make. Maybe we have gone far away from God, far away from the presence of God. Maybe you've got into a lot of busy life and you've forgotten to pray. You've forgotten to seek God. You've forgotten to read the Bible. You've got engrossed in riches, in lust, in the worldly pleasures. I want to tell you, come back to Bethlehem because Jesus is waiting for you at Bethlehem. And He will honor you and you will lack nothing good. Come back. And you know what happened when Naomi came back? When Naomi came back, God honored her. She had no home, a great home of her own. Ruth married Boaz, and God gave a son Obed, who was the grandfather of David. But what I want to tell you here is, when Naomi came back, she came back empty. She says, I went full but came back empty. But because she came back, God gave her so much, He honored her and made her to live in the palace of Boaz. See, from emptiness, she got back everything. She got everything. And she's now inside the palace of Boaz. That is how God will honor you. Maybe you've lost all your happiness. Maybe you lost all your joy, your peace, your relationships. It is time to come back into the presence of God and say, Lord, I need you, Lord. I need your presence more than everything else. And I promise you, God will honor you. So number one, never lose the presence of God for any reason. If there is a famine, He will provide. He's our provider. If there's a storm, He will protect. He's the protector. If there is a sickness, He will heal because He is Jehovah Rapha, the healer. Don't leave His presence. When you go away, there is no healer, there is no provider, there is no deliverer. Number two, even if you have gone far away, come back into His presence. And I promise you, He will honor you. Naomi could have died in Moab, like her husband and 2 sons. But she said, I want to get back to my God. And when she came back, God honored her and made her to sit in a palace and honored her like a queen. May God bless you today to come back to the presence of God. And I promise you, God will honor you.
My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. Christ alone, Cornerstone, we made strong in the same.